All right. Welcome, everybody. Mindful cardio and strength. I'm going to grab my weights over here and get my weights and my my mat. And I think I'm going to just start out on the mat a little bit, warming up with the feet and getting settled into the mindfulness of our practice a little bit, just into the body. And then we'll go ahead and head on to the step, and then probably back to some weights toward the end. So 45 minutes. And today we're going to mix in a little bit of talk about a book called Spark. It has a subtitle that I don't remember the whole thing of, but the topic is about exercise and the benefits of exercise, basically. And so I'll give you a whole bunch of those today. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more specifically about some data and some points that I think were really interesting from that book. I read it quite a while ago. I know Scott's referenced it as well. Some really nice studies in that book showing all the great benefits of doing this mindful cardio. So I thought I would talk about that for a couple of weeks, and then I'm not sure what we'll do the third week of December. That book is by John Ratey, Ratey. And like I said, it's probably about 10 years old at this point, but the information I think still stands. So let's go ahead and drop into the body, feeling the feet. Let's do some parallel heel lifts here to start. So parallel, lifting the heels. And then the challenge is broadening the ball of the foot, broadening the toes. As we start to fatigue a little bit, kind of watching, if you can, maybe by looking down, or maybe you can sense, can you lift straight up with the heels, straight down, straight up, straight down? And usually toward the end of these, for me, I start to maybe wobble to the outside, wobble to the inside. And it's just a way to kind of check in, a biofeedback marker. Nothing bad about that. Your body is working on it. But instead, maybe kind of making a little more point of lift, lower, nice and straight, heels up and down. One more. And then relaxing. Good. So you might feel that a little bit in the calves or somewhere. Let's go ahead and take the feet wide and turn them out now. Spreading the toes out again. And then let's exhale down and come back up. Let's do a couple of squats like that. And warming up a little bit in the legs. And come on down, and then let's lift the heel and lift the other heel. And again, spreading out the ball of the foot. Going to get nice and strong here. Slowly lowering the heels. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tap, lift. So we're going to go ahead and stay here. Maybe you can sink down a little bit more again. Lower the heels. Tap and lift. And again, lowering the heels. Tap and lift. One more time, getting a little shaky. 3, 2, 1. And lower down. And this time, press a little bit to each side. It's kind of shifting the weight. And noticing, if you can, being with that weight shift in your body. What do I mean by that? Can you sense the muscles, maybe even the muscles underneath your hands? Can you feel them come on and go off as you move? Maybe you put your hands back here and you can sense the difference in the back of the legs, the hamstrings. Come on back to center and we'll come upright. Let's take the arms out to the sides here and do a little bit of reaching out with the elbows. So I'm going to kind of like I'm spreading out something with the palms here. I'm going to come in and out, but I'm really also reaching through the elbow as I do that. So it's not really something I can show you, but there's a difference between having my hands here and kind of not working out through my elbows, or working through my elbows, really finding that kind of, can I reach a beam of light out the elbows? And even without my weights, then I can feel the backs of my arms start to warm up. Maybe I feel a little bit of stretch here in the front. And then bring the arms down. Good. And let's bring the arms all the way up. Get a nice little reach up with your shoulder blades. They get to come up with your arms now. Nice deep breath in and exhale. And then let's bring the arms down. Again, I'm going to reach out with my elbows and then reach back up. So I'm going to find some work there, even though I don't have the weights. Now you can grab your weights too if you'd like to have something in the hands here. I'm just trying to warm up a little bit my arms, my shoulders, and also that connection, head into the body, body connected with the head. Soften the knees, soften the face. And then bring the arms all the way down. Good. And then out to the side again, this time circles. So shoulders get a little bit of nice warming up. And the other direction. It's kind of medium with that circle. And dropping. Good. Let's reach up and get a little bit of opening in the side ribs, and we'll get that breathing going a little bit. So even as you take a breath here, can you feel it into that rib? Maybe give a little bend over if you'd like. Come back down. Let's stay with that same side. Come up and back down, drop into the knees. Come up and back down. Other side. Breathing into that rib cage, that flank. Find an exhale here. Inhale, coming back. Exhale over. It's like we're pulling the rib down a little bit, opening the armpit. And exhale. Good. And then bring the arms down. And then let's find your piece of equipment. So whether that's your step, bike, rowing machine, let's get started. If you have a device that you're using for your heart rate, if you're using the strap around, getting that going now, kind of checking out where you're at to start. And if you're on the step where I'm just starting out one side, left, left. Grab my weights. Continuing, let's go ahead and switch to the right. Prepare for feeling warmer. Right, right. And if you're carrying your weights, it's nice to do different things with the weights. So this one, I'm just doing one little push up when I come down with the arms. You don't need to have the weights to do that. You can go a little bit faster. If you don't have weights, you could be doing many of these overheads that we've already done. What I will kind of warn about a little bit is keeping them If they're heavy weights down at your side the entire class, I found doesn't work out so well the entire time. And I've had some not long-standing repercussions, but it was a little uncomfortable and kind of a different thing to be hanging on to something for that long in one position. So keep it moving, keep the arms moving a little bit. Maybe you're just activating your arms a little bit more rather than letting them hang. And you can let them hang certainly for a little bit. Let's switch it up. So each foot switching. So spark, exercise, what is it? What are the benefits of what we're doing? And I've got a big list here. So number one on the list is that exercise helps our body utilize energy more efficiently. So what does that mean? Maybe the metabolism gets a nice boost. So every time we exercise, we're encouraging that to continue to be in balance for us. Good, let's go ahead and go side to side. Just tap, actually, tap up onto the step here. And put your weights down at any time. I may do that as well. We'll see. Exercise, utilize the body, utilizing energy more efficiently. One way that we do that is through the production of more insulin receptors. And from what I read, the insulin receptors stay there. So we'll have to maybe check on that. But when we do the exercise, we know that we get more insulin receptors, which is part of how we're metabolizing that sugar. How we're dealing with the food that comes in, switching sides, you already did. Tapping on the other side. A little kick here. Number two, regular exercise helps. And I've got a whole list of what regular exercise helps besides this ability to, other side again, kick. You can bend a little bit, kind of if you're doing a little lunge or a little, I feel like a track and field person. I never did do the hurdles. It's a little bit like that if you want to. Reach out. Good. Back to center. Switching it up. So I thought some of these were really interesting and good reminders for us to stick in our back pocket. And I listened to a podcast over the weekend also where it's like, if we can get to that video, if we can get ourselves out the door and do the thing we know we need to do, will we lead a more peaceful life? Because the peace isn't in necessarily doing the discipline, it's what comes after, right? So I thought that was a really nice way to think about it as well. It's not necessarily that we're always really peaceful when we know we need to do the workout, but it's what results, the brain after exercise, and we'll get to that one coming up. So first one here is that exercise helps us be more social. So if that's a problem for you in any way, there's a boost of confidence that comes from regular exercise. And I'd say even weightlifting is in there. I know that it's talked about in the book as well. But the vigor and motivation that comes from getting the heart rate up, getting stronger in the body, can improve our connection with others. So I like that. Again, another reason to show up, do the workout, because the next one is to calm down. So exercise, regular exercise helps us calm down. Let's make some big steps here. Settling into the body again. Been listening to some talks by a Buddhist monk, and he gives a lot of information. And then after 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, he'll say, let's listen to the bell. And so right now, I feel like this is the time to check in with your heart rate, check in with the body. That's like our sound of the bell. I'm going to give you a lot more information about exercise, the benefits, but I don't want you to get lost in there up here in your head. So settling in to feel the belly, to feel the skeletal muscles, to drop any concentration in the forehead. With these big steps, switching it out. In a moment, we're going to go right over the top. One more of these big steps. Over the top. We'll stay with the right side. Right, 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 right. So, I mentioned calming down. Maybe you've attended some other classes with other people at Poe, specifically some with Scott, on the benefits of some of our practices and how we upregulate to downregulate. We get the heart rate up, we do certain poses, but in particular, let's stick with cardio. We get some length of time, or we do a little bit harder work, and we get to that place that's elevated our nervous system. Kind of like if you think of responding to a threat. If we had our ancestors lived and needed to respond, let's switch our feet to threats in the environment to move quickly. But then after the threat is gone, ideally the body calms down. And exercise works much the same way. We get kind of all systems on. And then we count on the body to regulate and come down. So we can alleviate a lot of other tangential things that happen when we're upregulated. When we're on high alert all the time, we tend to be anxious. So we can reduce anxiety disorders. We can also reduce kind of a normal anxiousness that might creep in. So it doesn't mean that you have to be diagnosed with anything in order for exercise to be a wonderful elixir for just feeling a little more chill. And no doubt you've felt that with your own experience. No matter if you're prone to anxiety or not, we all tend to have some. All right, back to the body, sound of the bell. Just a little march. Okay, where are we headed next? Let's go over the top here in the center, but to the side. over the top and back. We'll start with that. I'm going to tap on each side, and then up, tap. Our next thing that exercise helps is the flip side of anxiety, which is depression. They tend to go a little hand in hand. And without getting too scientific, we could go there in a different class about the receptors in the brain and how all of that works. But exercise certainly helps us fight depression. In Britain, first line of treatment for depression is exercise, not pills. And I have a friend who's a counselor, and she said, you know, medication works for about a quarter of the people that come in and need help. So for 3/4 of the people, there are other answers out there that work better. I think that's interesting to know. We have a lot more control, I think, than we think. And we also have wonderful remedies if we need them and if they work. All right, let's add a little bit to our cardio here and do a little lift here and come back. Every time that inside foot comes, instead of down, it's going to come up. Up, 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 up. Good. I'm going to switch sides here in a moment. Up, up. Let's do that a couple times. Up, 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 up. Good. 5. I'm going to switch to the other side. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's come to center a couple of times. Settling in again, feeling the feet. If you're in your bike, you feel your seat connecting with the bike seat, the handlebars. Rowing machine, same thing. Your points of contact. Settling in again, checking in with the brain or that forehead, softening a little bit more. Even though we're talking and taking in information, it's cool information, but we don't have to get too excited or gripping about it. Go to the other side here. I'm going to go over the top and back down. After depression, regular exercise helps improve focus. So this isn't really, well, it's not earth-shattering to me anymore, but maybe it's just another thing to remind yourself. Maybe there's a little note here. If I get out and do my exercise, I'm going to help my depression. I'm going to help my focus. It's going to be number one in being a more productive person. Maybe even not so much a productivity, but being a more able to prioritize what you'd like to do in your time. Let's start that lift and lift. Lift and over. Lift in the middle. Sorry, that's all I meant. Lift in the middle. Lift in the middle. Lift. Lift. So improving focus, not only for maybe for everyone, but thinking about it also in terms of the ADHD person, ADD person. This exercise business can be super helpful in getting the right things up there in the brain. And the structure of the exercise, every morning would be a good time. The structure is really good for the ADHD brain. And as we're not going to talk about ADHD today, but as with many things, there's a spectrum. Do you have a little bit? Are you diagnosed? Are you very ADD? Whatever it is, I think all of us can benefit from having a little more focus or feeling that we have a little more of that. Number one we talked about was boosting confidence, right? If you feel like you kind of know where you're going with your day, that's going to be a good thing. Let's come back and do a little marching. And again, just checking in. Can I take in the information? Can I drop into the body? Because I undoubtedly have gone on many discussions, maybe I've thought of people where this information would be helpful. Maybe I thought how this would be helpful for myself. And I want to be back in the body again, or continue to be able to work with thoughts and the body. So it's a big order. All right, let's go ahead and march up and switch. March up, march up. I got about 4 more. I'll go through them maybe a little bit quicker. The regular exercise helps us fight unhealthy addictions. There's some studies in there about breaking the addiction to alcohol, breaking the addiction to smoking. And again, it's about kind of having this interruption in the brain about I need to have something, do something right now. And I remember specifically, and I read this many years ago, about a woman who was trying to break that habit of having a drink too often. Let's go side to side. And instead of kicking out, let's kick back. So kick back, kick back. And she talks about how, she said, every time I had the thought about needing to have a drink of wine or whatever it was, she had a jump rope. And she used the jump rope to move through the thought, to move through the urge, and to change the brain chemistry. I don't know how long she did it. I don't know where she always could do it, but maybe she worked from home and that was part of the problem, or at night. And so just getting up and getting that energy moving. And there's a mindfulness piece in there, of course. You're noticing your thoughts, you're noticing your urges, you're noticing where you want to be, you know, what you want, what you're planning, and you start to exercise, jumping jacks, jumping rope, something. For some reason, that's just stuck with me. And for the chain smokers, there was some data or a study about helping break down, lengthen the time between the chain smoking each cigarette, so they would be able to find a way to get more space and more space and more space in between those urges. The next one is about making better decisions, curbing your bad behaviors, like overspending or overeating, drinking too much. So in a way, you're making better decisions, you're improving focus. I guess they're a little bit different, but we're changing the brain. And the exercise itself, I think, and maybe the identity that comes along with being a person who, I am a person who practices martial arts. I'm a person who does mindful cardio work. I get in X number of minutes of cardio every week. And you have an identity as some kind of athlete. And that's not so much in the book, that's somewhere else I read that, but I love that idea of how, as we change the habit or the actions of what we do, it really ties into our identity. And I think this is where they're talking about making better decisions because of that identity, making better decisions about what we're going to eat, that we're going to have more plants, we're going to eat less sugar, whatever it is. I'm going to go across here, and one foot goes way back, tap the step. All right, as you do this, really feel your hand touch back in the body. You probably didn't go anywhere, but let's just stay here. Maybe you can feel some other tactile sense. Again, maybe that's the clothes on your legs, the socks in the shoes. If you're barefoot, maybe you're feeling some sense of the surfaces of your step or the floor. The last two. We've done a lot of good stuff here, and it's time to hit the weights. We have healthier babies when we exercise. The babies respond better to stimulus. The neurology of the baby seems to be not advanced, but healthier, just overall kind of a more responsive infant. And the last one is that we live longer. As our brain is being active, it's growing. And with cardio, coming back to center, let's do a little lift here. Switch. All right, it takes me some brain here to switch. I think I'm going to stay on one side for a little bit. So I'm having a hard time thinking about what I want to say and doing this. So let's just go one side lift for a little bit. One side lift. Couple more minutes here and we're going to hit the weights. And remember those ones we did with the L? Let's do those a little bit here. So we step up and out and back. And you do a little bit of a turn. It's kind of nice to do. And lift, and we can lift in the center again and back, out, and our L. Good. Maybe you want to give it another name. So as our brain is being active, it's growing. And what's nice about cardio is that cardio prepares the brain to grow. We have much more receptive brain right after we do some exercise. So learning something new, hitting your hardest tasks after exercise, not such a bad plan. And we'll talk more about this next week, this learning piece. Because as an educator, Spanish teacher in my other life, my former life, maybe again sometime, and having two kids that have gone through school, different kind of learners, different kind of people, and reading this book about how exercise could really revolutionize what we do in education. And also, I think the importance of maybe keeping our brain fresh into our later years to avoid, if we can influence Alzheimer's or dementia. So we'll see if we can dig into those a little bit more next week, along with some other tidbits. All right, we're getting down there. Maybe a couple more of these L And I'm going to come back to the center, and I feel like I didn't get enough of the knee lifts on the other side. So let's do a couple more. I'm just going to do one side, and I'm going to let my brain say thank you and absorb the information, but not have it be too important or focused on right now. Good. And then march it out. Very nice. Ready to lift those weights again. Checking in with your heart rate. And then as we work with the weights, you don't have to manage your breath too much. I'll try not to cue that. It's a little bit harder for me. I've done a lot of yoga in which we did a lot of instructing of the breath, but with cardio, I want you to let that go. So let's work with a few squats here. My feet are about hip distance or a little bit wider. Let's bring those center and just come down into a nice medium squat. So not as big as where we started. And then feel that strength of the big leg muscles. Good. 2 more. All right. Heart rate is probably back up again. That's all right. We'll take that. All right. Let's work with our triceps. And we've done a few weeks where we took those triceps overhead. Let's bring these back. Shoulders come back. So notice that adjustment here to bring the shoulder blades onto the back and the elbows in toward the ribs. And then just pressing back. Check to make sure your form, your movement is looking like this. Many times I'll give this instruction and we're doing something else. So go ahead and just see if you can isolate tricep, triceps. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then coming back to center. Good work. All right. Bring those weights center to the body again. Feet, not quite as wide as they were for our squats just a moment ago. And then let's take the upper body on a journey, but not the hips. So notice your hips, give your knees a little bend here. And I might even pull the belly in a little bit. And we're going to take the weights to one side, back to the center. Weights to one side, back to center. And your goal again is to notice, can I notice if my hips are moving? So I can show you moving. That's not what I'm going for. And not moving. Upper body moves. Lower body is staying really solid. 3, 2, 1. Good. Nicely done. Okay. Well, I want to take these up here and do W's. And it's like cactus arms to start, coming forward and opening. Forward, open. Forward, open. Soften your knees, soften the forehead. 6, 5, 4. If you have lighter weights, you can do more. 3, 2, 1. And bring those weights back down. Good work. Let's do a little balance work here. Coming to shift that foot to one side. And then let's take that foot forward, out, back, out, forward, step, both feet. I'm gonna step forward a little bit because I was finding my step back there, shifting my weight one side, still holding onto the weights, out, side, back, side, forward, together, shift, out, side, back, forward, together. I just changed it, didn't I? Out, step, back, out, forward, together, forward, side, back, side, forward, together. Good. My feet work their way all the way together. We'll go with that. And then let's work with some biceps. I'll go ahead and find those biceps. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Weights alongside the body. I'm gonna bend the knees, bringing the hips down. Good. And then let's go ahead and round the spine a little more, letting the head come down a little bit, rounding, letting the weights get a little heavy. Still have my knees bent quite a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and round to come back up, and then straighten the knees. Bending the knees, rounding the spine, belly pulls back, weights come down. Lots of strength in the legs, the belly. Go ahead and find the torso to come up first. Keep the legs bent and then come up. That was harder than I expected. I'm going to take a little bit wider stance, one more upper body. And we're going to come forward with the body like we did earlier, a little bend in the elbows. And this time, remember how we did W's? We're going to do kind of like a W here, but I'm not a W. I'd have my hands kind of up this far, not going to be up that far. Here we go, flies. 8, 7, 6, soften the forehead. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Set those weights down. Come on down to the floor. And let's come all the way down to the back. Letting the heart rate be what it is. And then let's go ahead and bring one foot across and let that foot come across past your ankle. And then bring your hands to your waistline, or you could bring your hands to the tops of the pelvis, with the pelvic crest, and you could feel that. And I want you to notice the best you can as you try to move your knee away from your chest, whether your waistline goes with the knee. And if possible, keep the waistline even, like it's an even waistline horizontally straight across. And then take your knee away. And you can take a breath or two here if your breath is feeling kind of regulated, starting to slow down. Knee away, but not the whole waistline coming along with it. And my foot is a little active. I'm reaching through my heel a little bit. And if you'd like to add on, you could lift your bottom leg as you continue to take your knee away from your chest without moving the waistline. And then let's bring the leg down and the other leg down. And we'll bring the other leg across. And again, I'll have an active foot, which means I'm reaching through my heel. The ball of my foot is acting like it could stand on something. And I'm trying to relax my toes. And then I'm paying attention to that waistline as I reach my knee away. And if you want to, you can bring that lower leg up and continue to reach that knee away. Again, I'm going to do it with my own strength, which is different on each side. I'm going to really try to be honest about not reaching with my whole side body. This is for the hip. 3, 2, 1. And coming down. Bringing the hands alongside the body. Feeling the feet on the floor. And then the feet on the floor so much, I want you to press down into the feet. Get nice and long with your neck. And go ahead and lift the hips up into bridge. And in your bridge pose, see if you can cue into wherever it is that you feel most weight in your back. So for me, that's kind of between my shoulder blades, but for you, it could be a little further down, depending on how high you are with your hips. No worries, that's fine. I just want you to settle into that weight. And again, let's do this one more reminder of our face softening. And if you'd like to, you can lift the heels up. We started the class with lifting the heels straight up, and then slowly bring your right heel down. Slowly, slowly, almost like you're resisting bringing it down. And then the left, slowly resisting, bringing it down. And then that weight in the back, notice how it shifts as your hips come down. Notice, take that slowly. Notice the weight shifting as you bring the hips down. Eventually it'll be the hips, right? But before it's the hips, it's all those spaces in the back. Then you'll feel the sacrum and the pelvis having most of the weight. Let's just take a couple of breaths here, or close your eyes. And then as you're ready, you can roll to your side or hug the legs in and use a little momentum to come up. And we did it. Good work. So please let me know if you have any questions about the material, about what we're doing, any requests for more of anything more or less of anything as we go forward. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great rest of your day. I hope that you'll take the next few moments of your day, next hour or two, to use that good brain energy we just created for learning something new, for meditation. It's a great time for meditation, but also for those tasks that might be a little trickier. It may be a good time to try those out. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.